Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Maya Clifford, and I had the pleasure of being chosen to be on the Canton Field Projects team. Today, our presentation is called A Fairway Forward, pun intended, a look into Canton's golf course conversion options. We're going to go through our 6 main topics today. First, we'll describe the project purpose. Then we'll move into describing the golf courses. Then we'll move into the town of Canton, who lives there and what are they doing. We'll talk about our research and analysis around the survey we facilitated, our stakeholder interviews, and our suitability analysis of Blue Hill Golf Course. Finally, we will outline our various options for conversion, zoning, and acquisition, followed by our key takeaways and best practices. So each of us are going to introduce ourselves. My name is Maya Clifford.
My name is Katie Swan.
I'm Yue Wang.
I'm Vicki Stern.
And I'm Drew Merrill.
This report was created in partnership with Laura Smead, the town planner of Canton. Our team worked in coordination with the town to develop options for a potential golf course conversion that could occur from any of the 4 privately owned golf courses in Canton. As an attractive, mature suburb 15 miles south of Boston, Canton is a highly desirable place to live. There is increasing demand for housing in Canton, especially more affordable housing and a limited amount of vacant land. Therefore, the planning department saw this as an opportunity to plan for the future of Canton and enlisted the field projects team to look into any conversion options that could be accomplished in an environmentally sensitive way that would be appealing to the community and consistent with the town's master plan.
So Canton's 4 golf courses are Blue Hill. The first one is Blue Hill, a 183-acre parcel with residential neighborhoods surrounding the golf course. Schools are within proximity of the course and nearby local roads in the town. The second golf course is Brook Meadow, an 84-acre parcel that borders town of Sharon, not surrounded by residential neighborhoods and within the Neapolitan River floodplain. The third golf course is Milton Husick, an 87-acre parcel that has residential neighborhoods bordering the southern part of the golf course, has trails that connect to Blue Hill Reservation and nearby major roadways. Lastly, the fourth golf course is Wampatuck, an 82-acre parcel that is surrounded by residential neighborhoods and industrial park and is located within downtown Canton.
We decided to focus on the Blue Hill site, but to explain why we didn't choose the other sites, we included one of the site inventories for each course. Brook Meadow we found was too flood prone for development. Milton Husick lacked the diverse set of physical features that Blue Hill had, and Wampatuck we found that the soil quality was too poor for building.
In terms of demographics, it's important to note that the median age of Canton's population has increased in recent years, and projections estimate significant growth in residents ages 50 and older, and a decline in ages 19 and younger and ages 34 to 49. Under this scenario, demand for future services, amenities, land uses, and building types will decrease for children and youth, remain the same for young adults, and increase for older adults and seniors. Our analysis took a critical look at the housing in Canton, including the housing options currently available and how the community's needs for housing may be changing. Both the estimates of size and the age of households in Canton indicate that there is increasing demand for both smaller and more accessible units. Furthermore, a third of the town's residents would qualify for affordable housing. Coupled with the fact that both rents and median sales prices are increasing, there is a demonstrable need for more affordable housing in Canton.
We're now going to talk about our research and analysis. First, we wanted to share our original research questions. The first question was, what are suitable and feasible options for Canton? The second question was, what are potential land uses and what zoning changes are needed to make those a reality?
And we also want to know, what do stakeholders and community members think about converting Canton's golf courses, especially what is important to them, and also is development possible? So with the methods, we conducted the review, which ranged from as broad as national scale and as detailed as local level research. And then we carried out a site-specific suitability analysis for each of our golf courses.
We then talked to 4 main stakeholders in the community to gain critical insight. And lastly, we facilitated a community-wide survey, which was posted on social media through town planner Laura Smead. We were also able to look at 4 main research topics, the first being the golf industry and its current trends. In recent years, the golf industry has seen a major decline in participation and has seen increased maintenance costs. We also were able to look at the environmental impacts, the history of pesticides, and how those interact with golf courses and their land use.
We found that 100 years of exclusionary zoning policies, especially single-family residential subdivisions, were mandated by the federal government to intentionally segregate the housing market. We also found that the Boston metro region had success building political coalitions to push back against the development of the Inner Belt and the Southwest Expressway, something that Canton was key to, and it offers a blueprint for future housing reform, though future reform will need to address single-family residential lots as a major issue. And then finally, sustainable development must be incorporated from the very beginning of any conversion process and must be evaluated each step of the way.
For suitability analysis, this is a site inventory map specifically for Blue Hill. It incorporates the environmental and cultural resources we used. It has 137 acres for open space, 14 acres for trees, and 30 acres for wetlands, including the buffer zones, which are actually larger than the actual wetlands themselves. And the total site area is 181 acres.
We also wanted to point out that there are several social and cultural resources in the area. The middle school and elementary schools are on Pequot Street, and the site sits less than a mile away from the Canton Corner Historic District. So to analyze the area for development, we looked at three different factors: slope, wetlands, and the USDA building rating, and came up with a score between 1 to 10. Any score that was over 7 was considered suitable, and there were 141 acres of suitable area. Several key sites. We have the community center in the bottom right area, close to Canton Historic District. We have 2 different residential areas, one single family with garage, and then another would be cluster of pocket neighborhoods, which we'll talk about a little bit more. And then where the country club currently sits and the parking lot is, we've decided to use as mixed use.
For our interviews, we focused on a small group of stakeholders. Due to the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, we only interviewed 4 people or groups, which was less than the number we originally expected, which was around 10 to 15. Our first interview with Executive Director Neponset River and Watershed Alliance, our discussion focused on open space and other conversion options, and he stated that while open space is the preferred conversion option, he did mention that with new development came opportunities for more creative and sustainable water management systems. He also highlighted the need for continued collaborations with groups like his in order to make sure any development is taking place in the most responsible manner possible. Our second interview with golf course owners, in that we discussed permitting and other environmental aspects of maintaining a course, and we inquired about how courses are planning for the future, especially in the face of the current pandemic.
Our third interview was with Pat Pannone, a planning board member and architect from the town of Sharon. He encouraged coordination among town departments and a multi-lens approach. He also highlighted the need for a thorough environmental investigation of any parcel before development, and for the town of Canton to really utilize their master plan as their guide for success. Our last major interview was with Tom Scully, a member of the Canton Planning Board. He voiced concern for the traffic issues in town and highlighted the benefits of attracting younger families who can invest in the future of Canton. He's seen an uprise in these younger families in recent years. And
as mentioned before, we also did a survey that was distributed to the entire town of Canton. It was ongoing for 3.5 weeks. The survey was meant to collect the public's long-term vision for Canton's private golf course land and gather their thoughts on different types of development scenarios. It was created by the research team and the town together, and it was distributed to the town via Quadrix. So in total, we have 129 people responded, and one general result we found is open space was the most popular conversion option. To the right is a graph which shows the result of one of our questions asking for people to rank the different options for converting to open space. And we found that there was no huge difference between passive recreation and multiple active recreation use, only that passive recreation was slightly more favored. With that being said, conversion for housing was not concertedly protested against. To the right is a graph that displays the result of one question asking people what type or types of housing they found acceptable. On the x-axis is the number of people answering. So in total, we have 81 people participating in this one. And even if we subtracted those who clearly indicated no housing, which was 2, there's still 79. And if we divide that by our total number, which was 129, we still got 61%, which is a considerable number. So we conclude that housing did not encounter too much opposition, and there might even be some room for partially residential use. So based on that, we suggest a transfer of development rights or mixed use can be applied.
We also were able to look at 2 spotlight communities for contextual context. The first one is from Portland, Oregon. An architect there next Portland is currently leading an actual golf course conversion, and their focus is on low impact development and community involvement. Our second spotlight was from Mueller, Texas, a community outside of Austin, Texas, which is being built around what once was a rundown airport. And it's being converted into an inclusive community with open space as the keystone concept behind the development plan.
Options for acquisition and zoning, as Canton's golf courses are currently enrolled under Massachusetts 61B program, open space and recreation. The town can use flexible land use techniques for golf courses to minimize environmental impacts and protect open space. The first option is a planned unit development. A flexible mixed-use approach and can be used as a tool to preserve open space and creation of affordable housing. The second option is cluster development that can allow a developer to surpass the density of a town zoning ordinance in exchange for cluster development on the parcel. Third option is transfer development rights, which is a zoning technique to permanently preserve ascending parcel's development rights to receiving district that can absorb the growth from the ascending parcel.
Deed restrictions and conservation easements, which are described in our survey as a popular option and is already a used option in Canton. Easements can provide alternative methods of ensuring the retention of open space. And lastly, no development, which is highly likely to be the outcome for at least the next decade in Canton.
Option for conversion. The town of Canton can utilize and consider various conversion options based on the feedback from the community survey and the Master Plan 2035 goals. The following options are mixed-use development as one option to consider. Our team would recommend utilizing planned unit development or transfer development rights for Blue Hill Golf Course due to suitability for development. We also suggest that the Village Housing Overlay District that was in the town's 2004 Master Plan be brought back as an option. Second is conservation open space with no public access. We recommend utilizing this option for Wampatuck Golf Course due to being surrounded by residential neighborhoods and abutting reservoir pond. The third option is open space and active recreation. We recommend this option for Milton Cusick Golf Course due to being close to Blue Hill Reservation and nearby major roadways.
Conservation with passive recreation is the fourth option. Our team would recommend utilizing this option for Brook Meadow Golf Course due to its location in town in the southwest bottom corner and its presence in the Neponset River floodplain. And lastly, no conversion is another option for the town to consider, and again is highly likely in the short term.
So for low impact development, we just want to highlight that low impact development as one of the best management practices. For sustainable land development, it's important to mention as a strategy to mitigate commercial development, such as reducing land use clearing, reduce infrastructure costs, protect water quality, and reduce stormwater runoff.
Our final site design includes a mixed-use site and community center. We wanted to give you a sampling of our residential design principles. So we're looking at cluster densities of around 7 to 10 houses per acre, 100 square feet per cottage, and on lot sizes of about 5,000 square feet. And then 50% of all suitable land would be reserved for open space. So we have a model neighborhood cluster of 9 neighborhoods. Each of them are about just over 2 acres with 19 housing units, which ends up as 20 acres with over 171 cottages. And then in the middle, there will be a common village green that is open to everybody. With conventional zoning, this would fit about 10 to 20 houses as opposed to 171 houses. So it's a far more efficient use of land for housing.
Ultimately, there are many options for the town of Canton to consider, and here we've listed just some of them as best practices. It's vital to see that how when low impact development and housing for all come into contact with open space planning, this combination can truly result in long-term planning and sustainability. So we're now going to unveil our 5 key takeaways that we hope that you were able to glean from this presentation. The first is the importance of performance zoning. Performance zoning is really critical for the long-term needs of the community to be sustainable and useful to all residents in Canton.
The second takeaway is to enumerate alternatives for development and reestablish the village overlay district for improved residential density.
The third takeaway stresses the importance of recognizing the differing stakeholders, their interests and perspectives, and their particular expertise. Increased relationship development and cross-discipline communication is necessary in order for a conversion to work for all members of the community.
The fourth takeaway is community involvement is important to ensure that other groups such as the school board or the New York Council of the Watershed are part of the ongoing conversation within the community.
And last but not least, we figured out that more guidance from Canton town officials in terms of environmental remediation and state or federal regulation will be more helpful.
We would like to thank all the friends, family, and faculty that have helped and supported us throughout this semester.
Thank you for your time, and we have some time for questions.